Thank you for tuning into our podcast. We are coming to you from South Hadley, Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining me is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Cohen. And he offers both public and private tours, as well as presentations of the local canal systems, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks and streets in Holyoke, South Hadley, and Chicopee, Mass. Now you actually lead these tours and give these presentations yourself, is that correct?
Yes, and there's lots of churches in Chicopee.
Okay, and so today he'll be educating us on the churches on Springfield Street in Chicopee. So tell us about the Grace
Episcopal Church. This is a very easy church to find since it's very close to the intersection of Springfield Street and South Street, the start of Elms College. And if you're driving towards Elms College, you look to the right, you see this green-looking building, rather small, I would guess, about 2 stories high. The Grace Church was started in 1897 and was dedicated July 6th of that year. Now, the Episcopal Church around Western Massachusetts, you always think of it's very similar to the Catholic Church, except that it was broken up about 500 years ago by King Henry VIII in order to get a divorce. So its masses are very close to Catholic masses. Its whole outlook is very close to Catholic, and so thus it has a bishop and it has a diocese, and that's in Springfield, just like the Catholic religion. And the Episcopal Church in Springfield is called the Christ Cathedral. And now, this one in Chicopee was started because you started having more and more people from Great Britain or England come over, and they'd find jobs around the mill areas of town. And it grew, and it deserved to have this nice church. Now, if you look at it, it's a Gothic church. You can tell by the windows, and it has really cool looking windows in its roof. And it's a very symmetric looking church. Now, there was not much campus around it, but across the street there used to be another church called the Unitarian Church, the first Unitarian Church of Chicopee. And it was at the triangle section of where Fairview and Grape Street are. And sadly, it was taken down in 1973, but it was a very unique looking church. I don't include it in this tour because it's not there anymore, but I show people pictures of it so they can get a guess of what it looks like.
Tell us about the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church.
All right, now this is a huge campus because they have all the things you expect out of a church. Now, as you walk down Springfield Street from the Episcopal Church, the first one you're going to meet is the convent. And the convent is in a neoclassical or Greek revival style. And this convent used to be the home of a Dr. Kimball. And he purchased it. So it was a much older home, probably made in the 1880s. And they purchased it in 1925 when they moved into this neighborhood from another location. They used to be on Academy Street between Bunville Street, and it had a fire there, so they moved the whole campus out in the 1920s to Springfield Street. Now, if you keep walking along the street, you come to the next one, which is a house. It looks like a house, but it's a rectory of the Assumption Church. And this rectory was also purchased, and this time it was purchased from George Robinson, the former governor of Massachusetts. He was from Chicopee, and he got well known because he stood up for Lizzie Borden in her trial, and he got elected governor because he had such fame. And he has a beautiful house, but it was changed in the 1920s over into the home for the first rector. His name was Father Bunville. And this is a very beautiful house, and I'm glad it's still there. Now, you keep walking along this street, and what do you find? you find next the actual church. Right? This is also in a neoclassical style. Has a very large steeple next to it with a bell on the very top. And again, they wanted to build this here because in the 20s they had lost their church, and they built them all, one here, and again it's in the series, the convent, the rectory, the church. And so what you're looking at here is a very beautiful church. I've been in there. I think it's closing down as of this year, 2023. They had renamed the parish to a Holy Name Parish, but it's still the Assumption Church. Now, school? Sure, the school is right beside it. And it started out smaller than this, and then it grew. So it started out in 1925, and then it grew and grew, and they had to knock that building down and put this one up from 1954. And even that grew and grew, and the reason why, the population got larger, and there it got bigger and bigger because in the year, I believe, 2008, Holy Catholic High School moved in. And so Assumption campus is enormous.
So quickly before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill our listeners in, if you want to find out more information or sign up for any of his various tours, you can check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org. And there he has both videos of the various stops along each tour and also past and present photos of the historical sites throughout as well. And if you're interested in setting up a private tour, you can email him directly at bobcat4214, and they are perfect for fun, educational, outdoor activities for the whole family, or for your group parties, especially those special occasions and get-togethers. And they're also good just for getting outdoors for the day. So getting back to our interview, tell us about the Third Congregational Church.
Okay, the Third Congregational Church, usually when you name churches in the Protestant denominations, the first one in the town or city is called the First Blank Church, the First Baptist Church, First Congregational Church, so forth. Then the second one will come along will be called second, the third will come along will be third. Now, this Third Congregational Church was first built in Chicopee, not at this location, but first built in Chicopee when there was no Chicopee yet. So, this was in Springfield, and for that reason, its name is Third Congregational Church of Springfield. But since 1848, there's been a Chicopee, and so it's been called the Third Congregational Church of Chicopee, even though it was the first one in Chicopee. Now, even what you're looking at, well, definitely it's not the original one, and it's not even the first one at this location, because the Third Congregational Church at this location had a building here, and that building had a fire, and that was destroyed. So what you're looking at is a building from the 1890s. It's been rebuilt, and you can see it does need to have some repairs, I think, especially on some of the points of the steeple. But it's a very good-looking church, and it's more spectacular because it's right across the street from the Assumption Church. So it makes a good look to have all these churches in a row.
Now, tell us about the Holy Name of Jesus Church.
All right. Now, that church we already covered in previous podcasts, but again, it's right off of Springfield Street. It's an enormous campus, and so I'll refer you to that podcast, but it is the first Catholic church ever in Western Massachusetts. And it was across the street, a wooden building called St. Matthew's Church. When they made another building to replace that, it was a brick and mortar church that is still there. So this church you see is from 1857, and a campus sprung around it such that you got a convent, a school, and in the back you got a school for the boys, a science school, a monastery for the teachers of the boys, and towards the front left you got the rectory that you see there. And even that rectory grew because it was one story, but now it's 2 stories. At one point they added a second floor to it. So this is an enormous campus, and it includes the only place in Chicopee where there's a burial outside of an established cemetery. And that's in the churchyard. You have two former pastors buried there. Thank you.
Now, thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours, and we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. You can also tune into a large selection of our other podcasts and much more at his website, and again, that's hoyokecanaltour.org. And again, you can email him directly for private tours or to inquire about anything else at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And be sure to keep an eye out for his upcoming 2024 season tours and more as they become available. Thank you for tuning in.